All right, so it's 5:30. I can't see that.
Oh, it's just our live council meeting.
Oh, a picture of a picture. All right.
Back in the comments.
Just wait till Shelly sits down. Is Shelly there or has she gone to the washroom? Oh, okay.
Hey, you guys, just FYI, I'm going to recuse myself on the last agenda item for obvious reasons.
Okay.
Did you want to go home earlier?
Yeah, I want to go. I want to stand up and go home.
Yeah, go to the living room.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm home.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get going. Good evening. I'd like to call the regular council meeting to order. First item is the adoption of the agenda.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. We don't have any delegations, obviously. We'll go into minutes of meetings, so regular council meeting minutes from April 1st for approval.
Move.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. No committee reports. Unfinished business. We have the management report from April 15th for receive and file for information. Any questions on, we'll move that.
Move receipt.
Second.
Second.
Okay, any questions on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alex? Yeah.
Yeah, perhaps a question to staff regarding the garbage pickup. If we could switch over to every 2 weeks. I know Shelley's renegotiating that contract that we're going to be talking about today, but it might be a good time considering people have more time. They're at home. They can actually focus on organics and garbage every 2 weeks and organics every week. It might be the right time to do it.
Is that something that you're able to have a discussion with them on? Pardon me? Okay, go ahead, CAO.
Yeah, assuming that the contract's approved today, our intention would be that there needs to be a fairly extensive communication program. We think that that's probably best organized for the summer going into the fall, so that we start in the fall. We think that to do a communications program and get it going in the spring would be too late. And we think that the points being made to us are better off not to have organic sitting around too long in the summer waiting for collection. So we think we should start it in the fall after communications program.
Okay. All right, and Councilor Bissinger, are you okay with that?
Perhaps maybe we can have more discussion about it in 2 weeks, and we'll see once we have the communication specialist hired as well. I think it'd be definitely, top priority for me to get that done. And I think, it's important right now just because people have the time to think about it. And organics wouldn't be sitting, like organics would be picked up every 2 weeks. So it'd be more like the other garbage. Well, I guess organics would be sitting in the garbage. So I understand the CAO's point. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And the corporate officer here had a question, comment?
I was just going to make the additional comment that MTerra has advised that they would like to have at least 60 days notice before making such a change in order to restructure their routes and trucks.
Okay. Any other further questions? Was there other hands up? Councilor Minions, I see your hand up, and then Councilor McKenna.
Yeah, just a quick question on the strategic plan draft. It was in the management plan that it would come back April 15th. So I'm just wondering that probably has gotten pushed back just due to the current state, but I'm wondering when we may see a draft of the current strategic plan.
CAO. I know CAO and I talked about that yesterday.
You have the draft ready to go to council. We held it off just to let council focus on the budget. Budget resolved because the two are somewhat conditional on each other.
Right. But it does have pictures and it looks good. Right. Okay. And Councilor McKenna?
Yeah, just FYI, it's very hard to hear staff. So CAO Al, it was tough to hear you there, just FYI, as well as Shelley.
Wonder if we both got that. Okay, well, Shelley and I can split this mic and then the CAO's further. Can you hear me okay from here?
Yeah, we hear you really well. Yeah.
Okay,
And how about me now?
Better.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. So my questions are, I have 3 questions. The first is item 6, where the staff are instructed to report on, the options for local government with affordable housing and the rental zoning and the impact of short-term rentals. So I assume now with the current priority kind of alleviated or diminished, that staff will now be moving towards looking at that.
What do you mean?
CAO is just,
So the focus of the planning department now, and I'll perhaps let Marvin speak after me, is primarily to catch up on development processing that was set aside with the priority of 695 Aspen. Not that 695 Aspen is over. There's still lots of documentation and detail work going into that. But we have neglected other development applications, and there's going to be a focus on that as well. In the fall, the department will be focused on the open house for the Northeast Forum project, and we expect to have quite a bit of development inquiry and interest related to that now that council has provided direction on the way forward. So there's lots of other priorities that staff have, and so that's where we're at.
Okay. So perhaps,
okay, sorry, Pat, I was just gonna ask you again.
no, go ahead, yeah.
No, I was just gonna ask if you had another question.
Yeah, item 10 and 20, which I have the same question together. 10 is the budgetary provision for the communication specialist, and I see that the job description is complete and posted. And then in 14, it's similar, where we're sorry, not 14. 14's a different conversation. So with 10 and 20, 20 is the human resources capacity. So the positions being hired. And I just have a concern around hiring of these positions in light of where we're at. And I just wanted to raise that as a concern that I know that they're posted, and I just wanted to maybe hear from CAOL or on what his expectations are around the hiring of those positions.
Yeah, CAO.
So when council provided direction last meeting that it wanted to look at the budget, we made the decision that we wouldn't advance those hiring processes. So yes, we have had them posted. Yes, we have applications, but we haven't been moving them forward. Dependent somewhat on what happens tonight. So we'll be taking our cue from the budget process tonight.
Okay, great. And my last, thank you for that. And my last question is around 14. Is 14 now done? I see he's been hired with a potential start date. So does that come off the management report at the start date kind of thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's nice to get stuff off that report, I bet. That would feel pretty good. So that's my questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McKenna. I have Councillor Bissinger and then Minions.
Thank you. Maybe just to touch base on 695 Aspen again, I know we had chatted earlier about it, but just for the other councillors, was there any risk of us either losing that developer in the times that we're facing right now with COVID? And if so, is there any risk to the property because it's been rezoned? So going forward, are we losing any amenities if they were to go bankrupt or back out or whatever?
Yeah, Marvin will speak to that.
Thanks.
The developer is proceeding with that application, so they're moving forward in completing the outstanding items. So staff are working with the developer on that in terms of the legals and the revised drawings. Rezoning has not been approved, so that would come back before council once the outstanding items are completed, i.e. the revised drawings are received and the legal charges are registered on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Minions?
Yeah, thanks. I just had two really quick follow-up questions, and one of them was on whether 695 Aspen had had any traction in moving forward, so that question was answered. My other question was just back to the strategic plan date. It sounded like it would be after budget, but there was a bit of a microphone challenge there, so I didn't catch when we might be taking a look at that drafted plan that it sounds like your worship has seen. But I didn't catch a date there.
Yeah, staff's intention is to have it on the next council agenda.
Okay, so 2 to 4 weeks kind of timeline.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, and Councillor McGowan, did I see your hand up earlier? Or?
No, I think everything's been covered for me.
Good. Thank you. Any further questions on the management report? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's great. Thank you. So we'll move now to the 2020-2024 financial plan. We have 3 options there.
Sure. I'd like to move option B. Oh, okay. We'll proceed.
Councillor, that was Councillor Bissinger. You want to move B?
Yeah, I'd like to move B, a 2% tax increase, so we can chat about the report and what else was proposed.
Okay, and do we have a seconder for B?
I'll second that.
Okay, I see Councillor Swift seconded. So let's talk about it. Any comments? Councillor McGowan?
Oh, I was just saying that I was seconding it, but I like that it's kind of a medium, best of both worlds, right? We can't just not move forward on anything, not have any sort of income, not let things get worse, but it's small enough that it wouldn't be a huge impact on everybody, on the homeowners and individuals that are going through a crisis right now financially.
Okay, thank you for that. I did see Councillor McKenna, and then Councillor Swift, and then Grant.
So first, I just wanted to thank Clive and the team and staff for just an unbelievable job in putting it together. I think providing the 3 options and going back and really looking at all these difficult decisions that you have to make to move capital projects and to take cuts, just it's a really, really thoughtful piece of work. So thank you. And my only question is around the payroll cuts as proposed. Are any of those payroll losses, cuts, revisions, are any of them that are staff not hired yet, or is it all implication of current staff payroll cuts?
CAOs.
I'll start anyway, and maybe I'll ask Clive to add what I missed. But certainly, the summer students, for example, are not proposed to be hired. And there's a number of positions in the recreation department that were vacant, that were in the recruiting process, and that process has been stopped. There is 1 or 2 positions that are recruiting that are proceeding. For example, the foreman at Public Works is proceeding because we think that is essential. But what do I miss, Clive?
Okay, yeah. So it was, if you can hear me, I hope, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So the $670,000 and reduced budget, we did have, this is just compared to the budget we had shown to you before. So in there, if we did have a new position, it was, for a few months of the year. So there might have been a small amount with a couple of the new positions in the original budget because it was just to hire them until the end of the year. So those are removed. So you might be able to knock out maybe $90,000, to answer your question directly, Pat. That might have been allocated for those new positions, but there was only 2 new positions I think you have in there. So there was, the 4 new positions, I was making some provisions for it. So yeah, it probably brings it down to about just under $600,000 cut out. We're still paying everyone the benefits, so that's still budgeted for.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Swift, then Grant, and then Bissinger. Oh, sorry, Minions event this year.
No.
This is like
Okay.
what Brady Bunch, I'm trying to see who's Marcia, and, stuff like that. So, yeah, Swift, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So to Clive then, am I to understand then we wouldn't be having further staff layoffs?
Yeah, this is, go ahead, Al, please.
Yeah, to Councillor Swift, there's no layoffs of any permanent staff beyond the ones that have already been laid off in any of these options.
Okay, thank you. But I was going to speak in favor of the 2% hike simply because I think it still leaves us as with the lowest increase, and it does look like we are trying to respond to a situation that is critical for many people. I do think that we're in a very fortunate position in our community, given the number of seniors and the number of people that could qualify for deferrals, as well as the people that are having their mortgages, their taxes paid through their mortgages and so on. And I know there are the people that have been laid off or lost their jobs. It's absolutely devastating for them. But we still have a lot of people working, our healthcare workers, our frontline workers, our military. And so those people should be able to pay our taxes. For that percentage that is really struggling, I don't think that the $45 is going to be the difference between them being able to pay and not being able to pay. So, and I guess, and the other point is, and I know the staff report, it made it clear, but I know if we were to go for the zero, people, when they get their tax increases, are going to see an increase anyway through their regional district fees and the parcel taxes and the sewer rates and so on. And so it's almost misleading to say we're having a 0% increase when there are going to be increases. So I would really be in favor of the 2%. In addition to that, I guess I would like to hold off until the very last moment that we can before we finalize it, simply because we don't know what other programs might be coming down the pipe from provincial government. So, and that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, CAO would like to speak to that.
Just with regard to holding it off to the last possible moment, the tax rates bylaw has to be adopted by the middle of May.
Yep.
So we're getting close because it would come for 3 readings at the next meeting, which is May the 6th.
Yes.
And then there'd have to be another meeting by the 15th. So we're already pretty close to the deadline. Maybe we will have more information. I hope we do by May the 6th. And if we do, we'll certainly bring it back to council.
Thank you.
All right, Councillor, sorry, the financial officer has.
We had 3, since this report was done, there were 3 additional voluntary layoffs. So I said to reduce that payroll by 90,000, take it back up 60,000, because we're getting information every day, things are changing. So I think that number actually is probably fairly close. The payroll reduction is probably back to being close.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Grant, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I think I'm going to disagree with what I'm hearing around the table here, but I think that we have to look at option A, which is the 0%. I think we need to show the public out in our town that we're doing everything we can do to help them. I think we've been really financially prudent over the years. And I think that part of the reason, and we've done a lot of good work with our asset management as well. And I think a lot of the reason for that was to set us up for the future, but it was also in case we ran into something like this, so that we would have the means to be able to respond when we have to. And I think that that problem is here and it's now. And this is why we've done things the way we've done them. I think that we're fortunate as a community that we're in a position that we could look at that. And I think now is the time that we should respond to that. I think we run the risk of being really tone deaf to what people are saying out in the streets if we don't. And not only that, I just believe it's the right thing to do. With regards to taxes going up and increases, that's been a pet peeve of mine since the day I got here. We become the tax collector for all these other agencies. And I've often asked if we could somehow highlight the portion that we control on our bill, so that we would know, we would be able to send it out and show people the part that we're actually talking about. Because I believe it's been misleading forever, but it doesn't matter if you do a 2% and then it's going to be higher than that. If you did a 5.5%, it would be higher than that. So that's been going on forever. I think that it's really a lot in the messaging. Something that I've been trying to get my head around today is a deferral program. And Al, I think you called it an alternative program or something. And I'm thinking that I'm maybe not being clear in what I'm looking for. So what I'm trying to determine is how many people pay their taxes through the banks, because that money is collected and we can get that. People that are 55 and over could defer if they wanted to. I think there's a lot of seniors out there that are on pensions that have the same, that hasn't hurt them. But if we could segment a smaller group, like say under 55, that aren't being paid by the bank, is there a way to allow them a few more months to make their payments? Not everybody, just that one group. And I guess that's the question I'm trying to get to the bottom of. Because that way we can still get a good chunk of our tax money in, and yet we can add some comfort for people that are maybe struggling to make that payment. So I'm not sure what the answer to that is, but I think that we have to go with the 0% tax increase for right now, and I think that it would just be the right thing to do.
Okay, thanks. We do have some percentages here that the CAO will read off about what gets deferred and whatnot.
So with regard to residential property owners, there are options for prepayment. There is the deferral programs. 6.7% currently defer. We'd like to see more of that because we think it's a really good program that the province offers. It allows the province actually pays the municipality and collects the money back from the property owner when the property is sold.
And was it 1.95% tax? So it's
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
lower than what your house would increase.
And simple interest, not cumulative. There's a prepayment plan which the town already has, and there's 9.2% of owners in that. So that way they pay every month. And then there's 17.7% that pay as part of the mortgage. So it's paid to the bank, and then the bank pays the town. So those three add up to about 33.5%. But with regard to your question about could we segment out a specific age group or type of taxpayer, and staff believe that would be discriminatory and probably not legal. So there may be more information we can learn about it, but right now we're not aware of a legal way to do that.
Okay, so with deferral, I'm just looking for a way that we could still get, a big chunk of our money and give people a break at the same time. But I think deferral is something that we have to kind of wait on and see what the province does, because it would be far better if they did it. And I'm not sure how it works, but I know the province actually pays us if people use their program. If we do ours, we would actually have to wait the 2 months or whatever it would be before we got the money, if we do it. So if the province were to allow it, it would be a lot better for us. I'm guessing that's the way it works.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Councillor Grant. I think it was Minions and then Bissinger.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to speak in favor of option B with the 2%. I think something that is appreciated by a lot of our residents is, as Clive and our finance managers in past have been able to do, is really normalize the tax rate that's been expected. And so I was kind of going back and forth between option A and option B, but I think the challenge is if next year, when the economy may not be fully recovered, if we're going to look at this big gap of 5 to 6% that year, then it's not a helpful move this year. So just based on the long-term sustainability of 2% this year and kind of going back to where we've tended to be around 3.5% in future years as a goal, I think that works well. We're meeting inflation at 2% for Canada right now, and I think that's the goal, is to be able to meet where people are getting their wages coming in. The only question I did have was I couldn't find what the Parks tractor replacement, one of the pros was that the Parks tractor could be purchased. And I was just, when I was leaning towards option B at 2%, I was just curious on what the value of the Parks tractor is and if that is something that would be used on a frequent basis and just that was the only thing that stuck out to me on the list that I was not knowing enough information about.
All right, thanks. Shelley, Director of Operations, will speak to that.
Thank you, Your Worship. The tractor itself, we have a budget of, can you hear me? Yeah, $70,000 for that. It's probably the main piece of equipment for the Parks Department that basically maintains all of our sports fields. So it's in operation pretty much from now to right throughout the summer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bissinger, you had your
Yeah, thank you. I also wanted to speak in favor of the 2%, and also considering Cumberland approved a 4.62 and Courtney approved a 3.22, I would even make a friendly amendment to revise ours to a 3%. And just before I make that amendment, I just want you guys to hear me out. First of all, Courtney did a 3.22% increase, and the Comox Valley Record did an excellent job at actually breaking it down for people and explaining how the difference between like a 0% and a 2% or 5% or whatever is actually, between $20 to $60 or $80 or whatever it is. In our case, it's the difference between 45 and 67. Also, one thing I want to highlight is that if we go with the 0 or even the 2, there's a lot of infrastructure projects that we're just pushing to the right. And I know infrastructure is always the one thing that the governments inject money into in order to get the economy going again after a recession. We're seeing it at D&D. We're getting a lot of money for construction. And that's one thing I think the town of Comox would be foolish not to do over the next couple months or years, is to do those infrastructure projects that inject so much money into our economy in terms of jobs, in terms of materials, in terms of hiring flag people, hiring construction workers, paying for asphalt, paying for certain materials or whatever. And now is the right time to do it as well, considering that there are not a lot of people on the street. So that's one thing that I want us to consider, is that if we go with the 0 and it even looks with the 2%, there's a lot of those infrastructure projects that we're basically just getting neglected and pushing to the side. So we're basically just leaving our town in a standstill. And just one thing I want to reiterate is whatever decision we make, I think we just need to 100% push the deferrals for those that can't pay their taxes. I think it's a great program, and it covers anyone that has kids, that take care for people with disabilities, or anyone over 55. So if we actually look at our demographics within the town of Comox, I think it captures quite a few. I'm not saying everyone, but definitely it's a great program, and I think maybe people don't know about it. I didn't know that I was able to do it by having a kid. I thought it was only 55 plus that were eligible to it. So I think there's a lot of education there, and we need to let people know that this is here, we can do it. It's a great program. Overall, the cost is very minimal to each household to do that. Also, I know businesses, that was one of my main concerns, and with a school tax reduction of 50%, we're looking at a couple $100 to even $1,000 saved there. So I think that's good that they're being looked after that way. And then I think also I know Courtney is deferring sewer and water utilities up until September, I believe, is what I read in the newspaper. So if that's something that we should look at as well, I think we could do that. So just to sum what I'm saying, I think 2 to 3%, I think we would still be the lowest within the community, and it would still get some infrastructure projects going to get that money in our community, get the economy going a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, so you have an amendment out. I guess we need a seconder to discuss this further. So can we get a seconder to her friendly amendment, and then we can discuss it a little more wholesome?
I'll second it so that we can have the discussion for sure.
Okay, Councillor McGowan. And I saw Councillor Minion's hand up there, or as I like to call Marcia up in the corner.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. I like the points that Councillor Bissinger is making, but I would still, based on being between the 0 to 2%, I would not be in favor of increasing that to the 3. But with the property tax deferral, a lot of people weren't aware of it up until the last 6 to 12 months for families. But I do want to make a comment that if the program is the same, I was just trying to look it up right away, you did have to have 20% equity in your home. So for some families, that won't be the case. So unless they've amended that in the last couple months of COVID, 15%.
15.
Okay,
15%. So I just wanted to make, it's not all families if they put down 5%, 10%, 15%. So just for clarification that in support of what Ken was saying, I would support looking into how groups or everyone could be deferring for a part 2 to 3 time period.
Right, it's
15%. But not in favor of the amendment.
Right. Okay, so as I just pointed out to me, this discussion will just be to the amendment. So Councillor McKenna, you have a comment?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So, I empathize with Councillor Grant's conversation around the 0% because he and I had a physically distanced conversation on the streets of Comox one day, and I didn't disagree with what he was saying, but the other thing I totally agree with is that projects need to keep moving along. And I think we are in a reasonably strong financial position, but I also value that the taxes need to pay for the valuable infrastructure that we have going. And regardless of what option we choose, I think it's important that the messaging is important, that this 2% or this 0% or whatever we choose tonight is going to result in a long-term implication that taxes will rise based on these capital projects being put off. And we're giving, some relief now, but it's long-term potential pain to this short-term gain. And I think as we communicate our message to the public, I think that's going to be very, very important. So in speaking to the friendly amendment, I would not support a 3% increase. I think that the increases as proposed by the Finance Department is where we should be.
Oh, okay, thank you. The comment I do want to make is that, with the way things are going to roll out, if we were to go to 3%, maybe there'd be some projects that we could do. This is when we're going to get lower bids from contractors. So this is where we're going to get more value for our money at this time. So I just want to throw that out there. There are things that we are not going to be able to provide. For example, even at 2%, correct me if I'm wrong, CAO, at 2%, we will not be able to put money in towards the seniors elevator. Is that correct? Back to the stair house.
Yes, that's in a future year. It's not in 2020.
Right.
So that's one of the items that was delayed and would be potentially could be brought back if council provided direction for a higher percentage.
Okay. All right. I did see Councillor Swift. Did you have your hand up earlier, Maureen?
I didn't, but I do have a question, and we do have I was going to just look it up, but maybe staff would know. Clearly, we will not be spending any money or the 200,000 on Mac Lang this year. And also, I guess the expenditures for nautical days are in question as well.
So are we still talking about the friendly amendment at the 2%?
Oh, sorry, I'm not in favor of the
Oh, okay, so let's take any comments about the friendly amendment. Councillor Grant, I think you have your hand up.
Yeah, just in watching what happened in Courtney when they did their 3.22, they got a lot of flack over that. And in talking to them, they said that they would likely be revisiting that. They're not done with it. So if you think that 2 is going to be the low, it may not be.
Well, I think they met last night and they stuck to their 3.22. But I don't look at this as who can become favorites here. I think we need to do what's right for our community, and I do think that there's some people out there who are looking to us for our leadership, and this is the seniors in our community who have shown that they would like to get the new elevator. But that's fine. I think so. I saw Bissinger and then McKenna and then McGowan.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're a bit hung up just on a number. I know the difference between 2 and 3% is basically, if I just do a quick interpolation, it's $7. So $7 is basically the cost of a latte at a Starbucks. So I think, you know, for what it'll do, you know, for our economy within the town of Comox, within, you know, having some construction projects, maintaining some services, having some money towards our asset replacement reserve, you know, at least getting things a bit better. I know it's not like the 5.5 that was originally planned. I think 3 is kind of like a sweet medium in my mind. It's still, you know, considering people and what they can afford at the moment. And, you know, like I'm glad to see that there is 33% that have some sort of plan that will be able or likely able to pay their taxes for sure. And then who knows beyond that. But I think we're, you know, we could be in a good place with the 3%, and whatever that magic number is, I'll leave that up to Clive, but I don't want us to get hung up between a 2 and a 3 or a 0 and a 1, because the difference is between $0 and $40.
Yeah, $7 isn't a whole lot to allow seniors to use an elevator in a safe manner. I saw McKenna, and then I saw McGowan.
Right. So I think we're getting hung up on an elevator. And I think if we wanted to do the elevator, we just move out the garbage truck and we do the elevator. You know, I think we have the ability to put the elevator in this budget, and we have the ability to take anything out of this budget before it gets approved. To Councillor Bissinger, I think some people just can't afford to shop at Starbucks. So I think we need to be really conscious that this is a very, very critical time. And my last comment is this is the flattening of the curve of wave 1. And, you know, I'm not a scientist, but there's every indication that there will be a wave 2 of this pandemic. And so I think a 2% is a generous offer to our citizens of Comox. And I think there's more pain to come in this. And I think we should be conscious of that pain to come as well to the economy.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McKenna. And then I saw Councillor McGowan, and then I think we should wrap up the friendly amendment and vote on that. So unless there's any further questions, but McGowan, go ahead.
Well, I do like Pat's point quite a bit about, you know, if we need to, we can make it happen. But I just wanted to clarify. So the difference between the 2% and the 3%, does that equal like at the elevator? Is that, or is that just kind of what we've pulled out of the air to use it as an?
It was a few things, but CAO should know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my other question was, you know, because of these possible lower bids or other programs and project funding that will hopefully be coming as a stimulus from the province and the federal government, hopefully that would kind of supplement the extra that we won't be bringing in by doing the 5.5% or 3, because I do think that that giving people as much of a break as possible right now without fully detrimenting the town in the future and not being able to maintain our roads is a really kind of the best of both worlds.
Okay, thank you very much. So unless there's any further comments, we'll call the vote on the, Bissinger, one more comment on that?
Yeah, thanks. And maybe this is really stupid, but do we have like census or data that can go over, like, you know, like I'm just looking at my neighbors, everyone is over 55 or has children. So like, do we have any data that would help us solidify this? Like not that I, you know, I'm saying everyone needs to defer their taxes or that's the way to go, but I'm just curious, like how, you know, how much of the town of Comox population could do this, considering, I know the equity is definitely one thing to consider. I'm not saying everyone has a 20% or the 15% if you're a family, but I'm just curious, like that might be, you know, something that would help us in our decision.
Well, I definitely think that's something the finance department and the CEO have been talking about, getting that message out better to the community, and it could benefit them. So, all right, so we'll call the vote on your friendly amendment for adding 1%. So all in favor? And opposed? Okay, we got 5 opposed. Okay, thank you very much. So on B, the 2% tax increase, I think okay, Councillor Minions, go ahead.
If it's possible at this time, is it possible to make a friendly amendment that we look at the 2% option B and staff just go back and revisit if there is anything that can be reviewed with the elevator, and just supporting what Councillor McKenna said on that budgetary item, which I think is around, I think it was an $80,000 to $100,000 item.
Chief.
Well, even in the 2% option, it remains in 2021. And there is, of course, flexibility for council to bring it forward probably at any time during the year. They did make some fundraising commitments. And I think the timing of the elevator is a bit dependent on when they achieve those commitments. So it is in the 5-year plan, in year 2 of the 5-year plan. So it hasn't gone away. It's certainly a priority as soon as they get the money. But
It sounds like it can be discussed outside of the budget process then, so that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. A flexible timeline. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So no friendly amendment.
Okay, thanks. Councillor McKenna?
Yeah, I'm just curious why the elevator was included in the comments by the finance department if it was planned for 2021.
Okay, CEO will comment.
So in anticipation that there might be discussion about what would be the difference between 2% and 3%, staff did give some thought to items that were a priority, we thought, for the community. One was the D'Astaire elevator. One was designed for the Lazo Greenway. Bus shelters is another one. Dog park fencing and site prep. Those are other things. And of course, there's the funding for all the capital programs. So those are all ideas of things that could be advanced if council wanted to increase the budget beyond 2%. That's all they were, is ideas, suggestions, and opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay. So for clarity, like the conversation, because I also had around, the bus stops, because a lot of the bus stops are, I know the physical labor and the materials, but they are funded options as well with the bus stop. So what might be helpful is to have a dollar value assigned to those options, which would help us kind of evaluate what needs to be kept in, what needs to be kept out, because I love the new bus stations. The bus, they're so good. So it'd be a shame not to put the new ones in if we can't afford that. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McKenna. Bissinger, I see a big hand there, so go ahead.
Sorry, right in front of the camera. So speaking to Councillor McKenna, I know it's like, yeah, it's nice for the bus stop, but it's nice to have the Lazo Greenway and it's nice to have the elevator. I think it's just, we're basically saying no to all this or we're saying yes to it. So I think that's what we got to think hard about when we're talking about that tax, the tax, the 2 or the 3 or the 5% or whatever it is. But I think one thing we can't neglect is all the design, like all of these designs. I think they need to go ahead, absolutely. Like Lazo Greenway, if there's any government funding that comes down the pipe next year to stimulate the economy, they're going to be looking for shovel-ready projects that have been shelved. So whatever Shelley can do in her department to have a bunch of design projects done this year, I think it'd be foolish not to get at least those. Like, let's have our designs ready to go, and when there's grant money or whatever infrastructure injections, like we need to be ready to go, because most communities will not, because they will have canceled designs or whatever. I think that's my biggest lesson learned as the engineering officer at 19 Wing Comox. Like, if you don't have projects, you don't get the money. So I think that's definitely something we need to consider. And I don't care if it's 2%, 3%, whatever. I think definitely a message to staff is like, please don't stop on designs. And I hope people will second me in that point at least. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any other hands up, so we'll vote on B, the 2% tax increase. All in favor? Bissinger, your hand is up. Okay, and opposed? Councillor Grant. Thank you very much. And I appreciate, number one, the staff putting a lot of time into that and a good fulsome discussion on that. So thank you. So that's carried. We'll move down now to the
second recommendation.
Oh, did I miss one there? Oh, yes. Okay, that and number 2 of that, the council retained the existing tax payment dates consistent with the Comox Valley Regional District, Courtenay, and Cumberland.
I'll move that. Second.
Okay, any comments on that? That's just keeping all the communities the same. No comments, all in favor? And any opposed? No opposed. Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, so now we'll go down to special reports. Comox Valley Regional District meeting minutes be received for the March 12th meeting.
Move.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. And the Comox Valley Regional District Board held the Thursday, March 19th and March 31st meeting.
Move.
Second.
Okay, any questions on that? All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And going down to bylaws, we have a recommendation from the CAO, the Downtown Comox Business Improvement Area Bylaw number 1928-2021 be adopted. And I just want to comment that the BIA has done some great work for the town. You know, and just to butter up Councillor Grant there, I think he really started this up about 5-ish years ago and really started moving the BIA along to where it is right now. And I think it's a good model. It works for us in the community and helps build up the downtown. So do we have a mover to adopt that?
Move.
Second.
Seconder. Now, any questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Down to new business and notices of motion, the garbage collection and recycling service agreement, 2-year extension. This is another recommendation from the CAO, that the garbage collection and recycling service agreement with Halton Recycling and Terra dated April 1st be extended until April 30th, 2022 with the following changes. So we got A is include a further option to extend the agreement for additional 6 months on the same terms and conditions with the agreement of both parties. Want to do these individually?
It's up to you.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to do them individually or do you guys want to do them?
Do a
I'll move
group.
A through D.
Okay, so we'll do them as groups. So B is a total increase for all services beginning April 1st, 7.5%. April 1st next year is 5%, and beginning April 1st, 2022 is 4%. C is free of charge collection of office paper at all town facilities, broad to include free of charge collection. And this, I just want to note that the corporate officer worked hard with them, and she was able to get that for us. And the collection of garbage from residential customers with curbside service reduced from not less than once in each week to not less than once every second week at a date to be determined by the town. The town will provide at least 2 months notice of this change. So we had a mover, we had a seconder for that, didn't we?
Not yet.
Yeah, okay. So any questions on those? Councillor Grant?
Well, I realize that we're going to get stuck with some increases here, but 16.5% increase in basically 2 years, that seems really high to me, especially in light of everybody else is taking cuts and trying to find their way. I don't know if there's any way to go back and get this reduced, but that seems really high to me.
Yeah, the CAO will speak to it, but I think that's kind of across the board for the other stuff.
So I think Councillor Grant's making a good point. It is high. The contractor points to cost escalation of up to 20% in his business, so that's what he's basing it on. But the original proposal did ask for not only these increases, but also cost of living increases on top of these increases. And we pushed back on that, so did Courtney. And this was the result for both Courtney and Comox. I think that, yes, council has the option of trying to negotiate further, but I think having this agreement, the same percentage as Courtney, is probably continues to be a good deal for both of us and probably the best deal that we're going to get.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McKenna?
Yeah, and I agree with CAOL. I think uniformity is important in the contract, but I also agree with Councillor Grant. If you look at one of their amendments or one of their reasons for extra increase, and I wonder how much of it they put in for that increase was the price of gas. And if I don't know if anybody's checked the price of gas lately, it was down about 40% in the last little bit. Now I'm not saying it's going to stay there, but there may be an opportunity to push back and say, well, how much of that was your percentage of gas, and what can we do there? But they did have some valid reasons. But I mean, I agree with Councillor Grant. It's an exorbitant increase in price, and not without the excellent service. I watched them work today as I was out walking. They're amazing. Like, they are amazing productivity machines. When I watch those guys pick up the garbage, it's incredible to watch.
Okay, thank you. Did I see your hand up, Councillor Minions?
Yeah, just a quick question. We were talking about the biweekly garbage kind of needing a communications rollout and being potentially after the summer, which makes sense. I'm just wondering, with the 60 days notice, it says there's a corresponding decrease in collection fees in the contract agreement, but it doesn't really specify how that would be calculated. And so I'm not sure is it on volume base? Because my understanding is the fee is set. So how would we negotiate to go to biweekly later on after the contract's been signed?
CAO, yeah.
Well, they have agreed that there will be a corresponding adjustment. The details of that would have to be negotiated. We do know that with the new program, if we implement it in the fall, there will actually be less curbside pickups. So it goes down, I forget the numbers, but it goes down a couple collections per month to each house. So there's some quantifiable savings. They're aware of it, we're aware of it, and the details will be worked out at the time.
I guess my only concern is if we have a 24-month contract and in 6 months we try to negotiate while under a contract that is more beneficial to them. I just don't know. To me, that detail would be valuable to have somewhat of a plan for before we sign, as I don't know what their benefit of decreasing our fee would be greatly for potentially half the pickups. So that's my only red flag, is that it may be a negotiation, but they'll have 18 months left in a contract where the fee is higher. So it's a concern.
Okay. Thank you. Bissinger, did you have your hand up? Okay. McKenna, you disappeared and came back, and now you're in a different spot there. So, okay. So, any other further questions on that then? So we've moved and seconded number 1A through D. So all in favor? And any opposed? Grant and Minions. Okay, thank you very much.
Seems to be my time for opposing.
That's carried. I'm sorry, say that again, Councillor Grant?
It seems to be my time for opposing things.
Oh, that's okay. I tried buttering you up earlier with that BIA thing just to make it feel.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I heard the schmarm.
Okay, so now we'll move on to number 2, that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the garbage collection.
Move.
April 2020. Okay, seconder on that?
Second.
Yeah, Councillor Swift seconded. And any questions? All in favor? Okay. And any opposed then? None opposed. Okay, carried. Thank you. All right. So from the rec director, we've got the Chimo Gymnastic and Compass Adventure license to use. The council approved the following: the waive 33% of the monthly rent of surf, SUP stand-up paddle boarding, which is Compass Adventures, for 3 months, April, May, and June 2020. So we'll do these individually.
I'll move 1.
Second.
Okay, so any comments on that?
Makes sense.
I do have a question then, if I don't see any there, for the rec director. I know Compass Adventures does have those trimarans that they put out there. Is that part of this? Because those can get used at any time.
do you know? I was gonna put the bug in your ear earlier and I totally forgot, because they have on the main finger, they have those 2 trimarans. So I wasn't sure if that was included in this or if this is just the building and the storage compound. CAO.
So there's the storage compound, the building, and then there are, I think, 3 or 4 berths in the marina.
Right, that they use for the little boats, for the dinghies. So this does not include the larger slips that they use for the summer for the big trimarans then.
This is just what's covered by the license. to
Okay,
use.
all right, good enough. Thanks, Ted. All right, so that was the only comment I had on that one. Seeing no further comments, all in favor of 1? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And number 2, to waive 100% of the monthly rent for Chimo Gymnastics starting April 1st.
I'll move that.
Second.
Second.
This would be until it reopens for public recreation. So we have a mover, seconder. Any comments on that? Yeah, and this one is pretty straightforward because I can't get in there. So yeah. All right. So all in favor of that? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Councillor McGowan has opted to remove the National Pharmacare Program from this agenda, but we do have the Safe Drug Supply. That you, is it the other way around? Okay, Councillor McGowan, you wanted to remove the Safe Drug Supply?
I'd like to put it off for now. There's talk of something coming down through the province, so I'm hoping that they're going to step up and take care of that. And they won't need a letter of need from towns and municipalities to tell them that they need that.
Right.
The National Pharmacare, I have found just about 20 minutes before this started, a really great resource with some really wonderful resolution wording and everything. So what I'd like to do is put a notice of motion forward today and pull this all together. What it is National Pharmacare support during the COVID-19 epidemic. There's people already in normal everyday life that can't afford and aren't taking their medications, and that often leads them to hospitalization or needing further medical care. They're also going through significant financial distress, a lot of people, and waiting for their payments. So this is something that's been in the works federally for a very long time, and I think now would be a really good time to push them to actually move forward with it. So I'll have a well-worded document, hopefully, to pass around to everybody before next council.
Okay, thanks. And so you're looking for, you're going to do a letter, you're looking for council support on that,
Yes.
correct? Yeah. Councillor Grant, go ahead.
So, well, I'm just wondering what our role would be in this. I mean, Pharmacare is a national and or provincial, and I'm not sure what our role is. Other than to advocate for it, possibly, I can't think of what role we would have.
It's just to advocate, to let them know that this is something that would help us a lot. It would help our businesses, it would help our municipalities and what we pay out, and it would help all our citizens and our already overtaxed pandemic dealing with hospitals and health system.
Okay, so it's an advocacy piece we're looking for. Okay, fair enough.
So this is a notice to motion. So we'll take it. We'll look at your letter and it'll be put in as a motion at a second subsequent agenda. Does that sound good, Councillor McGowan?
Yes,
Okay.
That would be what I'd like to do. Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. So we'll move down to urban food production. And this is that council support urban agricultural opportunities and increase food security by directing staff to receive and consider feedback from the planning department, the Comox Valley Food Policy, community associations, residents, and develop options in a report to council to allow small-scale commercial urban food production, including but not limited to chickens, not roosters, bees, and urban farm stands in all residential property within the town of Comox. So that's a notice of motion as well. we're looking at that? This
I
is
thought
the
it was
motion.
a,
So,
I thought
okay.
it was a motion.
So do we have a mover on this so we can discuss it?
I'll move it.
I'll
Council-
second.
Okay, I saw McGowan's hand go up, so we got mover and seconder. So comments, Bissinger, go ahead.
Yeah, just to speak to that. So I sent a document around, and I guess it's basically one thing that the whole COVID-19 pandemic has brought to light is a lot of people within the Comox Valley are concerned about food security. I know a lot of our food comes from the States, it comes from the mainland. So in times when our supply chains, might experience some risk or some changes, if we have truck drivers or delivery drivers getting sick. We've seen some grocery stores, like they're all out of flour, you can't get seeds anywhere. So there's definitely like a big movement within the Comox Valley to be more self-sufficient within the community. And I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do within the town, within our bylaws, to make people more self-sufficient and have the community more sustainable in terms of food security, lower carbon emissions. And the document I've sent, it basically just outlines what other communities have done. I know Cumberland's got a urban agriculture policy that allows for 2 beehives and up to 6 hens per, per property, as well as certain requirements for setbacks in terms of where you put your chicken coop, hedging, where beehives can be placed. Same thing with like roadside stands for sales of vegetables or whatever. There's also a petition that's been going around. They have over or close to 500 signatures when I checked earlier today. And we've also got that letter of support from Lush. So what I'm asking is your support in having staff develop different options for the town of Comox. I know Saanich did it, and it went through like an open house, public consultation type thing. So I don't think it'll be a instant and immediate implementation of a bylaw. And I know our planning department is busy with other stuff as well. So I think it's just something for consideration in the long term. I think we need to look at food security overall, and this would just be like the first step in moving towards that. So if you guys have any questions or comments, I would love to hear it, and I'm hoping you'll support this.
Yeah, so do we have any comments on this? Councillor McGowan?
I fully support this. It's something that I've even before the pandemic, felt very strongly that people should be able to have access to local sustainable food. And yeah, we have full support from Lush Valley and the Food Security Food Policy Council, willing to reach out and help in any way that they can with knowledge and strategy and implementation and everything. Yeah, I think that this is the right time to move forward on something like this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McKenna, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor.
And then Minions.
I think this is a great motion, Councillor Bissinger. I'm not sure of the timing of it. I'm not sure how much work our staff have ahead of themselves with this. My question is, and I would support the motion should it come to us. So, and I think food security is ultimately important, and it's really been evidenced through this pandemic where there are empty shelves and you look at other provinces, especially island provinces like Newfoundland, they're running out of food. And so, it's a real thing. It's a real thing for sure. My question is, and I didn't see it in the documentation shown, does this allow for like roadside stands, like people in front of their house selling vegetables, I know it's not eggs, you can't sell eggs, but could they sell the produce? Could they sell the flowers? Like, I'm not sure I want to go down that road for our citizens to have like local stands in front of their homes, but I'm open to feedback on that. But does that allow for that?
I think that's something that we would get fleshed out from the staff report, correct? Yeah, and Bissinger, you had a comment?
Yeah, and just to follow up on Councillor McKenna's comment, I know Cumberland does allow for roadside stands, and they can sell like vegetables and flowers. I know there's some strict rules, like you can't increase traffic, you can't have something that's distracting to like cars or whatever. So there are definitely some guidelines, and I think that's something that would be determined through the whole open house and public feedback, whatever over the next couple months, and as well through like the food policy council. I think that'd be something to consider. I know there are already some roadside stands within the community. There's a lot of people that sell breads or little, bird houses, kind of like those little public libraries where you can just take a book, leave a book kind of thing. I think there's a lot of that already going on. So this is just a way to, legalize that if you want. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that? Minions?
Yeah, just a quick comment that I would support the motion as far as the option for people the options, what we would look at, because food security is something I know very little about. So getting some staff information on what some of the pros and cons would be, I think at this point is important, because it's not something I feel like I could vote on, obviously, without that information. But it has been eye-opening finding out how much of our food is coming from, 80% of it coming from the States, and what that security looks like in times like now. So definitely support at least reviewing it further, depending on what staff's feedback is. And I also know we do have quite a bit of it in our community currently, and so even having the information of what the pros and cons are for something that we're not necessarily by law enforcing as it is, which I'm okay with because I don't fully understand the pros and cons of it. So I support the motion to get more information for future, and also because we have some of that in our community already.
Okay, thanks.
Which is okay. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I know if you could figure out how to grow toilet paper, you wouldn't make a month or so ago on a roadside stand. Okay, any further questions on that? So we'll vote on that. All in favor of the staff report? And that's unanimous, carried. Thank you very much. So we'll go down to correspondence, and this is Frank Denton, who runs the Comox Bay Sailing Club. They're asking for their 2020 moorage fees to be reduced by 50%. So there's another hit to our finances, and we have a mover on that.
So I'll move receipt and that we grant the request.
We have a seconder.
Second.
Okay, so I guess any other further questions on that? All in favor?
No, discussion.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there, Pat.
That's okay, just discussion. So I don't fully understand the sailing club. Can someone explain it to me before I grant them half price?
Well, they have two slips down at the marina. You might, no, you don't recall, it was last year where we allowed them to take another slip. So they have the single hull boats, and as opposed to the little catamarans that the other one does, and they take the kids out. They do a great sailing program for them. So CEO, did you want to comment?
My only comment would be that you've granted 33% to the Compass Adventures, and I know every situation is unique, but my recommendation would be to be consistent.
Right, that's where I was going. Does it sound like the same program as Compass? Why don't we alleviate their rent for the next 2 months and then figure it out after that, like we did with them?
I'm sorry, alleviate whose rent? The
like we did with Compass. They're looking for half price for the year. Why don't we do the same process we just used, that we just approved?
That was a 33%, I think, for, yeah.
It was 33% for 3 months, April to June, and it could be evaluated again after.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, just to be consistent.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Minions?
Yeah, I support that consistency. It talks about membership fees, and I'm just wondering, do we have an idea of how many members are with that sailing club, just as far as the impact of cost sharing? I would imagine it might be a relative small group of people and not hundreds in their membership.
Well, it's a lot of kids. I know on the weekends in the summer, you see a lot of their boats out at any given time. I would see 20 when I'm out there.
Yeah, I'm assuming the membership isn't from kids. I just don't know what their membership looks like. So, for cost savings being divided out, but that's okay. I think fairness and equity in this situation would be the right way to go.
Okay, so we're looking at 33% for 3 months, was it? April to June. April, May, and June.
Procedurally, I was
Yeah.
just going to say that's an amendment.
Yeah.
To
Right. So do we have a mover for that amendment?
Moved.
Second.
Okay, and any further questions? Councillor Grant, did I see your hand out there?
Well, yeah, I think that this is a group that's looking after the kids in our community, and they do a really good job. Their source of revenue seems to be from, a fixed source of revenue, whereas Compass Adventures is a for-profit business. So I don't have any problem helping these guys out in any way we can, and I don't think that we need to be consistent with the other group, because I think these groups get their revenue from different sources.
Well, I guess,
Councillor McKenna, go ahead.
yeah, and I guess that was my question, Councillor Grant, is I don't know the difference in these two groups, so I'm kind of trying to vote on something and I don't know where the parity is. So I'm open to more feedback, and if they're a nonprofit society versus a for-profit, then it might sway my difference as what if what you're saying is accurate, which I'm sure it is.
Thank you. So it's evident that we should have a little bit of background information on this. So maybe we can bring this back to a next meeting and then discuss it further.
Sure. Can I make an amendment?
That is the amendment about the 30 months.
Okay.
So we can shoot that down if you want, and then go back to the other one and then
yeah.
that report.
Okay.
So let's vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Okay, so that is defeated. So now we're back to the 50%.
So I'd like to make an amendment that we waive the monthly fees for this month as staff evaluates the request.
The full fees or half the fees?
This month, full fees, just to give them relief if they,
Yep, fair enough.
Okay, do we have a seconder on that?
I'll second it.
McGowan seconded. Okay, so any further comments on it? Bissinger?
Yeah, just like, I'm not too familiar with like what other rental space that the town of Comox has to other businesses, but I know like some businesses are paying rent and we're relieving that. Some businesses are paying taxes and we're not relieving that. So like is there a report that can come out of like what else can we expect that will be requested to have like a break on rent or whatever? Like, is there other facilities that we rent that we would expect this from? Like, I don't know, like the hands-on, like, is there anyone else that's gonna be asking for, I guess, rent reductions? And I guess, is it fair to do rent reductions in light of like not doing tax reductions? I'm just like speaking out loud here because there are some businesses getting no revenue as well. This is nonprofit, so yes, I agree. 50% sounds fair. I'm just speaking out loud here, or thinking out loud.
Okay, maybe in the staff report we can touch on that as well. So we moved that we would defer this for 1 month and then have a staff report back and then discuss it again. So all in favor of that? And that looks like unanimous. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Just pull up. And what Councillor McKenna is going to be recusing himself. So do we just want to jump over that one and then finish off the other one? That way you can zoom off of there, Councillor McKenna. So
that would be nice. Thank you.
Right. Andrea Capella was the last one that we wanted to talk about correspondence, but he's got a conflict of interest.
Okay, so what do we see?
Well, I thought we would just put that one on hold. And then if there's any reports from member of council, which I think we should be brief again, we'll get that out of the way, and then Councilor McKenna can just zoom off. So is there anything pressing that council wants to report from their last couple weeks?
I'll just give a quick one. So we've been walking Comox every day, my wife and I, twice a day. And I'm just very impressed with Comox overall at how we are socially distancing and physically distancing and doing such a great job. I do see, congregations every so often down near Point Homes and at Goose Pit. But even then, people are staying in their cars. They're respecting people's spaces. And our goal by the end of this pandemic is to have walked every street in Comox. So we've got the map up and we're highlighting it. And it's just really encouraging to see when people are out, they are physically distancing as they are getting their exercise. So I just wanted to comment on how great the citizens of Comox are being.
Great, yeah, and we did have the bylaw officer work over the long weekend, and he reported that there was no problems in the town. So, did I see McGowan's hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to pass on the great work that the Food Policy Council is doing right now. They've managed to pull together with Lush and varying organizations. They're doing at least 50 good food box deliveries a day to people who are in need of food. They've enlisted school buses to help with deliveries. It's really heartening to see everybody come together and make sure that everybody's eating well. So shout out to them.
Good, thank you. McGowan, or sorry, Minions, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, just a really quick comment. We had a Vancouver Island Regional Library executive meeting, which lasted about 4 or 5 hours. It was quite in depth, and that was before the decision for the layoffs for pretty much the 39 library branches to be fully closed until further notice. But the libraries have been doing a really good job about increasing what they do by live streaming. They have story times. They have library cards that can be gotten online for the first time. So just to encourage all the library services that are happening, they've been really innovative with the staff they've kept on getting people learning how to go digital. And I think they're up like 200 and something % of people that are accessing digital catalogs and e-streaming and video streaming. So the library is doing a really good job at adapting and getting people involved with books still. So I just wanted to give them kudos to that.
Okay, great, thanks. Anybody else with a brief comment? Swift, Councillor Swift, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I've been attending these teleconferences with the regional district where we get updates every day with the Emergency Operations Center. And they're going to take those conferences down till Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But we did have one today, and it was basically to say that the state of emergency has been extended to the end of the month and probably will go to the end of May. There'll be further modeling this Friday from Dr. Bonnie Henry to talk about a graduated relaxation of restrictions that we'll have to wait to happen, what those involve, and that BC overall is doing really well. And it's due to the uptake of our BC residents and how well we're social distancing. So we're doing really well.
Good, thank you. Any other further brief comments? Okay, and just for myself, yeah, same thing. I'm every other day I'm on a conference call and we're talking about this. So, all right, well, thank you very much. So now we'll just back up and Councillor McKenna, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Mayor, staff, council.
Good. So the rest of you will stay, and so we have the let me just find it again here. The correspondence from Andre Capelli, Coalition to End Homelessness, request for funding for Habitat for Humanity, and that is why we've asked Councillor McKenna to step aside, because he is Habitat for Humanity. So we have this in front of us. One of the things that we've spoke to before is we've never had an opportunity in Comox to provide some funding to an affordable housing component. And I see this now with 695 Aspen. I've had the CAO and I have had discussions with the MLA, Ronna Ray Leonard, about getting some additional funding to reduce the rents to make these 6 condominium units that we want to take on affordable to those in our community that are vulnerable. And generally we're looking at, vulnerable seniors, but there could be any group or demographic out there. And so I know the coalition does great work, and they've used our money to help in Courtney, and I'm just wondering if this is the time where we want to take this money and put it towards 695 Aspen to lower the rents for those that are in our community. So I want to throw that out there. I see Councillor Minion's hand up, so go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we
Sorry,
should receive the letter first and then open for discussion, but I have a comment to make on that.
I got ahead of myself here, so we do want to have a motion on the table for this.
I can move receipt and open for comments if that's
Okay.
possible.
I'll second.
And Councillor Grant seconded it. Okay, so there we have it. So go ahead, Minion.
Yeah, my understanding of the letter was that they were asking us where they could direct funds that have already been given to them. And so as the Comox is not part of that service, I don't believe we can say from past 2018, 2019 funds that it can go towards Aspen. Although on that conversation, I would really like to have that conversation about how we get affordable housing in Comox. But my understanding from the letter was they were asking, they normally send us a letter at the end of the year with funds we've already sent them with where it's to be allocated to. So I think the 695 Aspen and other Comox projects would be a secondary conversation. And that's my take on it, that this is allocation of funds they already have. And I would support the 70,000 going to Habitat for Humanity as recommended.
Okay, Councillor Swift, did I see your hand up?
Well, I agree with Councillor Minions. I think this is money that they already have in their hands, and I believe it should go to, they're just asking for reallocation, so I would support it.
Okay, any other comments?
I would like to have the conversation you started though, but I just depart from this recommendation.
Okay, Councillor Binions, I saw your hand up there. Sorry, Bissinger. Binions.
Yeah, I guess do we need a clarification on this letter, or is it just, we agree that they reallocated and we can open up the conversation to Aspen? Is that what's on the table right now?
Okay, CEO is going to make a comment to this.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that both the 30,000 allocated in 2019 and the 30,000 in the 2020 financial plan are still in the hands of the town of Comox. So those funds have not been dispersed, to my knowledge.
And to my knowledge, we did not receive a request last year.
Well, they did, but they didn't ask for it, or they didn't use it because it was something that that 2019 that they at the end they didn't need it. Now they're asking for it again, I believe.
Either way, all the money's still in the town bank.
Right. And this was the unique way that the town set this up a number of years ago, so that way we could direct the money where we see fit. And in the past, we've given it to the coalition because it made sense. So they do a great job. I don't want to take anything away from them. But now, we do have an opportunity to put money towards our own residents and in our own community. And that's what I'm putting out there. I think we only have a limited amount to go around, and I'd like to see us take care of our residents. Councillor Grant, and then Minions.
Yeah, so when this whole notion of us not actually joining the coalition came, it was more to do with not wanting to join another regional district service and then being dictated as to how things would go. And we wanted some autonomy, and at the time we wondered if the coalition would actually make it through, and if not, getting out of these, you have to buy your way out of these things, and it has to go to Parliament in Victoria to change those kinds of things. So there was a lot of good rationale for not doing it. I think I'd like to know what the impact on the Aspen Road would be if we were to give them $60,000. Would they be reducing rent with that? Is that what they would be doing? And if so, what would a rent be?
Well, yeah, that was the hope, that any money we get, we put into it to reduce the rents to make it affordable. But CAO, did you want to add something to that?
Well, just a ballpark number is that the town's currently putting in approximately 600,000 into those units and is getting a reduction of rent of around $400 or $500 a month. So this is 10% of that, so it would probably save in rent $40 or $50.
Mm-hmm. Per person, yeah.
For all 6 units.
per month for all 6
Per month.
units. Yeah. Anything further, Councillor Grant?
No, I just was, yeah, so the impact would be, I mean, it's an impact, but it's minimal, really.
Unless you're living paycheck to paycheck, and then that $50 might help. Councillor Minions, you had a comment? Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick comment on that then. Just, I'm kind of reading the letter over and over again and trying to classify exactly where that 70,000 or 30,000 sits. And the way they've worded it is that the town of Comox approved to the coalition use of funds of 30,000, and obviously that need has now changed. But I feel like I don't quite understand where our current obligations are, because I'm open to exploring what other options are and what that looks like. But from the letter, it appears that in obligation, whether the money is sitting with town of Comox or not, we had put forward that we recommended something, and so they're asking for a slight change. So I'm not in favor of necessarily pulling back those funds, but I think it's okay to look in the future at doing something different or talking about that. But I'm not exactly clear on, in memory, I recall approving 30,000. I know I've only been around just over a year, so towards coalition. So I do believe we've already committed some of these funds to coalition, regardless of where they go. But now I'm feeling unclear from this kind of back and forth where the money sits and what the obligation is.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and sorry, one more quick comment was just that with these builds that are happening, I understand they're in Courtenay, but their applications are open to all residents of the Comox Valley, and I do think that it's very likely that throughout the builds that they're doing, that it has a likelihood to impact Comox residents as well that could be applying.
Yeah, and you know, and that's a good comment. What I think is a bit of a shame is that, now, I don't want to upset anybody in the coalition or anything like that, but when we put our money in towards Courtenay, which is great, they do a great job, the Habitat does a great job, so I said all that, but we're pushing our residents out of Comox to go into another community. So we're taking our seniors, and we'll just use seniors for example. They've grown up here, they've put in their life here, and now for whatever reason, some of them are in the vulnerable stage. So here's a potential area where they can go and reside in as they get older. It shouldn't be that we have to, send them over to Courtenay to live somewhere where they've spent a lot of their adult life here, and this is their home. So that's my feeling. I feel that we should be looking out for our residents as well. You know, in the future, we will continue to benefit the coalition. But I do think we have an opportunity here, and we've got a great potential at 695 Aspen to take some of our residents' tax dollars and put it to use for them. So that's all I'll say. So is there any other comments? McGowan, you had a comment?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, saved. You froze there, McGowan. Start again, McGowan. You're freezing up.
For one thing, yes, the money.
Yeah. We're not getting you. And it's not me.
Oh man. No. How's that? Is that a little better?
Yeah. Start again.
Okay. The money has, from what my recollection is, been allocated for the coalition and for the coalition to do what it does. Now, we haven't had land or availability to build in Comox, although I think future negotiations are definitely, I think, somewhere that we should go. But these houses that Habitat would be able to complete with this money would benefit everybody. It would help bring rental costs down for everybody. When you said something, Your Worship, about our residents are having to leave Comox, that's true of so many people right now, and I don't think the little $60,000 towards 695 Aspen is going to put as much of a dent in it as we would like. And I think that putting it towards the coalition at this point would help support them and foster our relationship for the future to help build more in Comox and to work together in that way.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. Well, you know, I will make the one comment, $50 a month to a single mom with a child or a senior is the
Yeah, you
difference
don't have to tell me about that one.
of their phone bill or some basic groceries. But fair enough. I think I've said enough. So Councillor Grant, you had a comment?
Well, I think we're having a great debate here, but really there's no wrong answer.
Right, yeah, you're
You know, these are both great causes, and whatever we do, I don't think you can pick or choose. I think either way you do it is good either way.
Okay, thanks. And Councillor Minions, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, just kind of reading it over and over, I've clarified in my mind that 2019 was 30,000, 2020 was 30,000, and the 10,000 was coming from the CVRD funds. So do we have, and I apologize that I don't know the budget line item by line item, do we have 30,000 from my recollection? That is what's earmarked for 2020 in the budget. So
Yes, we do.
okay, so budgetary wise, that's not a question. So personally, no, I need to think more about my recommendation. I support the 30,000 and likely the 60,000, but we're talking about 2020 funds now, and I'm still trying to wrap my brain about future. But I think that when we gave them the funds in 2019 verbally, we at minimum should stick with that obligation.
Okay, so at this time, what we'll do, we've had some great discussion, and Councillor Grant is bang on again that there is no wrong with any of the things we're saying here. So we'll move to receipt. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much.
I think they're looking for a motion.
Yeah. So Councillor Grant or Minions. I saw Grant's hand up and I heard Minions speak. So.
No, I didn't have my hand up.
Oh, okay. So Minions, did you have something for a motion?
I'm not sure.
I'll move that we move forward with reallocating the funds to Habitat for Humanity.
To the Coalition for the Habitat. I think that's how it goes.
So,
Yeah, please.
allocate 2019 funds to Habitat
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh.
and then further to allocate 2020 funds
To
Habitat.
Habitat.
Is that what that
Yeah, we were discussing, so 2019 funds, we would reallocate them to Habitat, and then the 2020 funds of 30,000, we would allocate that to Habitat. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, to support the coalition that way. Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Bissinger, did you have your hand up?
Can the motion just be that we let the coalition put the funds wherever they see most fit at the time they see most fit, considering they're on the pulse of what needs funding or not, and then if we want to add 695 Aspen to the rotation of their I guess funding receivers or whatever, we can do that. But I don't know why we have to limit it, but they seem to know best. So whatever they want, if they want Habitat, whatever. If they want something else, then I don't see that she would need to rewrite it to us for 2020 again.
To the coalition. Oh, okay. Yeah, we were just commenting. Councillor Grant, 1 second. We're just commenting that their recommendation that it does go to the Habitat for Humanity in the letter. So, Councillor Grant.
So when the coalition was put together, it was precisely for that reason, and it was because we used to get all these groups come asking us for money. We never knew what to do, and as a result, nobody ever funded anything. The one request we have of the coalition is that they come and tell us what project they're actually going to put the money towards. So that's part of what we asked for when they did it, and I think it makes sense that we actually know where they're going with the money. I don't think it's a huge deal if they I think right now in this letter, we're gonna allocate money for this year and last year. So I don't see that being a big deal.
Okay. Councillor Minions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I support the recommendation for the 30,000 and the 30,000 for 2019, 2020. And I would say from here on out, it sounds like it could be a much bigger conversation about how we want to look at approaching this in future years. So we have a lot on our plates. This is a good proposal. It's not increasing the amount as they're doing in the other areas. So I think I can support the 60,000 for 2019, 2020 going to where they have recommended as the experts.
To Habitat for Humanity. Okay.
With the hope that in future years we do talk about our relationship, because my understanding for 695 Aspen is you do have to be a society or a nonprofit to apply, so we can't just apply as 695 Aspen. So that's a much bigger conversation, and I don't think we'll be able to come up with a solution soon. So this is a good.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Grant, you seconded that, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. Okay, so we've heard from everybody, and the question is, or we're all in favor of that the 60,000 going to the Habitat for Humanity via the coalition. Is that pretty much what we're at? Okay, all in favor? And it's passed. Carried. Thank you very much. No opposed. I'm in favor, just so you know, because I didn't get my way. Okay, so that is that. We don't have anything further, so motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? All right, carried. Thank you. Okay.
Goodbye.
See you later.
See you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Stay healthy. Yeah. How do I lock this thing? Leave.
We out there.